this last weekend was the FGEN yearly conference, which is the Feminist Gender Equality Network conference, and there's a photo from it, and here is a blowhigh in a trans toilet. So this is the toilet that like Transaxual and some others, I think maybe FGEN too, got made and put outside the EHRC offices. And if you don't know what blowhigh is, then I guess you're not a trans person. No, for some reason this IKEA shark has become like the unofficial trans mascot. But yeah, I haven't got loads of photos from this yet, and I haven't seen the videos from it yet, but it's coming. I went to the FGEN conference, and I was a keynote speaker. In fact, how it worked out, I was the last keynote speaker. I don't know what I did to deserve that. I think that they had various people booked, and some dropped out and some new ones came, and then some people couldn't be there at certain times of the day. It must be a nightmare organizing these like feminist conferences. But I was just like, yeah, I can be there all day. Whenever you need me, I'll be there. I'll be ready. And so being flexible means that sometimes you just get put into the best slot. So somehow I got away with being like the headliner of the whole thing, which, yeah, not deserved at all. But there was some really, really cool talks. So going up to this, like I've done a few talks in a few places, but I haven't done one like at a major feminist conference or anything. And I made this talk thinking I'm going to kind of do something on the gender criticals and just do a talk that I've done before, but similar and more updated and stuff. And then like 2 nights before, I looked at all of the titles of everyone else's talks, and I was like, oh my God, everyone else's titles look intense. Like it was very clear that most other people there were academics, and I'm not an academic. Well, I'm not an academic, but I have no like academic background for feminism at all. I'm just like a dickhead who's been in the trenches arguing feminist positions for years. But compared to some of these other people and some of these other talks, I was like, my God, my talk is not good enough. So I had this like frantic 2 nights before rework of my entire talk. And how it was set up was there was like a keynote speaker and then a bunch of breakaway lectures, and you could pick between different ones and panels and stuff. And then there was another keynote talk where everyone comes together, and then you go off and you go to separate talks, and you kind of mingle with the people there, and there's lunch, etc. And one of the things was really cool was to meet a bunch of people who I've been like, who might be in the chat, but some people who I've been like talking with and organizing with for 10 years, and I've never met them, or I didn't even know what some of them look like, because some people are anonymous online, and they're like, someone comes over and they're like, oh, Katie, and I'm like, who the fuck is this? And then they're like, I'm someone on Twitter, and I'm like, no way, like that's so cool. So that was really nice. But also the talk, like I'm not an academic feminist. I have read some books, but I'm not like studying the field on the front lines of academia or anything. So lots of the talks were just incredible. I learned so much stuff. I felt almost like I couldn't get the sincerity across when I went up and talked to people afterwards. Like there was quite a few amazing talks on trans people's history and on law and stuff. And people afterwards, whenever someone gives a talk, you want to go up and say, oh, that was a really good talk. But I wanted to be like, I'm not just saying it. That was amazing. Like I learned so much from it. Yeah, there's one really good talk about trans people in the 1700s and discussing like the legal fallout of the EHRC and all this kind of stuff. Really good. So really informative. And I recommend, if you're someone who can travel probably to London next time they do one, and you want to learn about this and organize with people and meet people who are experts and also people like me, then you should come to it because it was really good. Really, genuinely recommend it. Yeah, so that was really cool. I did my talk in the end on arguing with gender critical people because I was like, if all these experts are there going to be talking about what they're an expert in, what is the thing that I can say I'm an expert on? And that is arguing in the trenches with the worst people on earth. And I think it went well. So if you're in the chat and you're at the talk, thanks for coming. But yeah, it was really cool. It made me feel quite positive in a few ways. One was I was quite pleased that my talk went well. Obviously, that was quite nice. But also to see a bunch of like, the thing with academics is they're good at being academics, and not every academic, I'm trying to be polite here, is good at media engagement. And so sometimes when you're activisting on Twitter and stuff, you can kind of forget about that side of it a bit and end up focusing too much on news stories, and then feel like you know the whole landscape. Maybe this is just me, maybe I'm just an idiot, but sometimes I feel like, I know the landscape of trans rights, and then I go to a talk and they say, this is about trans people's history, and I'm like, I know this, I know all the talking points, I know when the first GRS was, I know when they first started prescribing hormones. Like, I feel like I have a decent grip of trans history back to like the 1930s. And then the first talk's like, we're going to talk some like trans history that's not that far back, so we're going to start in like 1790. And I was like, 1790? Okay. And there's just like so much that I just was like, wow, I know nothing about this. That was incredible. And it makes you realize that there are loads of people doing real cutting edge research work, real like important philosophical and legal and history work, which is making progress, which isn't always super obvious. And because it's never going to be a mainstream news item, it can be lost. And it shows that people like me, or maybe just me, need to connect better with that kind of stuff to make it more well known. Yeah, one of the takeaways I had from particularly the history talks was like the stuff the gender criticals are saying today literally is no different to what they were saying in like 1700. The wording sounds more modern English, but they're making the same arguments. And yeah, that in one sense that's kind of depressing because it's like, wow, we're still here and they haven't got anything new in all that time. But also it's kind of reassuring that like it's all just the same. And like they literally have got nothing new, and so it's just we just have more science now, so their like position gets more and more desperate, because in 1790 claiming that there was a man essence and a woman essence and those things can't be changed, harder to challenge from a scientific standpoint because we didn't know as much about science. So yeah, it was good to see that. Yeah, I thought I'd just share my experience of going to that conference and recommend it, or similar ones in the future if you ever get a chance. I think another big takeaway actually for me was organizing in person is just better than organizing online. You can meet people and get an idea of what they're like, their strengths and stuff. Lots of things come across differently when you're talking to someone. I think it brings people together more. It's much easier to get good discussions going, to hear from all different people. I'm sure if you're someone who's been organizing for years, you're like, I've been shouting about this for ages and why is no one doing it? Well, I'm on board now. So, and I don't think everyone is, so I just think it's important to share that. Yeah, it went well, so recommend for future.